Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are focusing on a friction point that I think every single person listening has felt at some point.
Wow.
Whether you play this game religiously or, just watch the majors on TV, it's the gap.
Ah, the gap.
Yeah, the gap between perception and reality, specifically in golf. You know the feeling. You're out on the range, you make a swing, and in your head, you look like a tour pro. You've got perfect tempo, perfect positions, pure elegance.
And then you see it on video.
Right. And it looks like you are trying to kill a snake in a phone booth.
It's the classic feel versus real disconnect. I mean, it is the oldest problem in sports psychology and definitely the most frustrating part of golf instruction.
Exactly. And for the last 100 years, bridging that gap required a very expensive human standing next to you, or more recently, a lab coat and a motion capture studio that costs more than a nice house. But the stack of research we are looking at today suggests that era is pretty much over. We are entering the age of the digital fairway.
It really is a complete democratization of elite training. We are looking at a convergence of technologies here, high-fidelity simulators, markerless motion capture, and artificial intelligence. It's rewriting the pedagogy of how we learn and, frankly, the economics of how the whole industry operates.
And we have a serious stack of sources for this one. We are pulling from white papers on advanced computer vision frameworks, technical specifications from the major hardware manufacturers, and market reports on the multi-billion-dollar indoor golf sector.
It's a massive landscape, and it's moving
Yep.
incredibly fast.
So here's the mission for this deep dive. We need to unpack this indoor golf ecosystem. If you are a coach listening to this, we need to talk about how your job is changing from instructor to basically a data interpreter.
Right.
If you are a business owner, we need to look at the return on investment of these systems because the numbers are actually really surprising. And if you are just a golfer who is tired of slicing the ball into the woods, we need to explain why swinging in a garage might actually be better for your game than swinging on the actual course.
That is a bold claim, but the data absolutely supports it.
Let's start with the hardware, because I think a lot of people have this outdated mental image of indoor golf. You hit a ball into a net, you wait 2 seconds, and then a little cartoon ball sort of floats across a screen. It feels disconnected.
Yeah, that was the reality for a long time. The old systems relied on simple infrared sensors. Basically, the ball broke a beam of light, and the computer just guessed the rest. It was an approximation, not a true measurement.
But the specs we are looking at for modern flagship launch monitors, they're talking about something called sensor fusion.
Right, and this is the first key insight. Sensor fusion is exactly what it sounds like. It's the marriage of two completely different tracking technologies to cover each other's blind spots.
So what exactly are we combining here?
Usually, it is radar and high-speed photogrammetric cameras.
Okay, let's pause there. Photogrammetric. Break that down for us.
It basically means taking measurements from photographs. In this context, it is high-speed cameras taking thousands of frames per second to visually lock onto the dimples of the golf ball and the actual face of the club.
And why do we need the radar then? I always thought radar was the gold standard for tracking.
Radar is fantastic at tracking flight. Doppler radar tracks the ball moving through physical space. But radar can struggle with spin rates indoors because the ball only flies, say, 10 feet before it hits the impact screen.
So it doesn't have enough time to read the flight.
Exactly. Cameras, on the other hand, are perfect for seeing the spin and the exact impact the moment the club hits the ball.
So radar tracks the flight path, and cameras track the impact physics.
Precisely. By fusing them, you eliminate the guesswork, and more importantly, you eliminate the latency. The industry calls this instant impact. The goal is that the millisecond the ball hits the physical screen, the virtual ball continues the flight. It has to be completely seamless to trick your brain into actually feeling the shot.
So we have solved the ball flight. We know exactly what the ball is doing. But the research points out that knowing what the ball did is only half the battle. That is just the effect. We need to know the cause.
And the cause is you, the
Yeah.
human machine.
This is where we get into biomechanics. Now, traditionally, if I wanted to measure my biomechanics, I needed to put on a suit covered in those little ping pong balls, right? Like a Hollywood actor doing motion capture.
Markers, yeah. And that is a huge friction point. You cannot swing naturally in a tight Velcro suit. It changes how you move. But the breakthrough we are seeing now is markerless motion capture.
This is the stuff involving those complex computer vision frameworks, right? Like the metric scale, truncation, robust heat maps.
Yes, exactly. Essentially, it allows a single camera, like the one on your phone or built right into the simulator, to watch you move and identify over 30 key points on your skeleton in 3D space.
Wow.
It knows exactly where your left wrist is relative to your right heel, completely in real time.
And this is without me wearing anything special at all, just my regular gym clothes.
Zero wearables. It builds a 3D skeletal model of you instantly.
So what does that unlock? Because, seeing a 3D stick figure of myself is cool, but is it actually useful for my game?
It unlocks what we call the kinematic sequence.
I see this term everywhere in the coaching journals. It sounds incredibly academic.
It is physics, but it is actually very intuitive. Think of cracking a whip. To get that snap at the end, which is your club head speed, you have to transfer energy. In golf, that energy always comes from the ground.
So walk me through the chain. How does the energy move?
It starts with the lower body pushing against the ground. Then that energy transfers up to the pelvis, then to the torso, out through the arms, and finally into the club. Ground, pelvis, torso, arms, club.
And it has to happen in that exact order.
Exactly. If you fire your arms before your hips, you break the chain. You lose all that power. We call that an energy leak.
So these markerless systems can look at my swing and say, hey, your hip stopped rotating 10 milliseconds too early.
Yes. It visualizes the leak for you. So a coach doesn't have to guess and say, well, I think you looked a little stiff on that one. The data objectively says your pelvis rotation peaked too late. It connects the cause, your body, to the effect, the ball flight.
That seems incredibly powerful, but also kind of overwhelming. I mean, if I'm standing over the ball and I am thinking about my pelvis rotation speed and my wrist angles and my launch direction all at once, I'm just going to freeze.
Paralysis by analysis. It is a very real danger when you have access to 4,000 data points. The temptation is to try and fix all of them simultaneously.
So how do we solve that? Because data without context is really just noise.
That is where the next layer of the tech stack comes in, artificial intelligence. We are moving from mere data collection to automated diagnostics.
Give me an example of how that works in practice.
So leading AI diagnostics use machine learning to look at all those thousands of data points we just discussed. But it doesn't show them all to you. It filters them.
It decides what actually matters.
It prioritizes. It might see that your grip is bad, your stance is wide, and your club face is open, but it knows, based on millions of swings in its database, that if you just fix the club face, the other two won't matter nearly as much. So it tells you, just fix this one thing.
That's the difference between looking at a spreadsheet and working with a coach. A good coach knows what to ignore.
Absolutely. And it's not just diagnostics anymore. It is becoming predictive. We are seeing generative AI entering the space to create smart caddies.
Is this just a fancy GPS? Like you have 150 yards to the pin?
No, that's passive data. This is active. The AI actually learns your specific dispersion patterns.
Dispersion pattern meaning where I tend to miss my shots.
Right. It knows that when you hit a 7-iron, you don't just hit it exactly 150 yards every time. You have a 20% chance of missing left and maybe a 5% chance of missing right. So when you are facing a virtual hole with water on the left, the AI calculates the actual risks.
So it might tell me to aim 20 yards right of the flag.
Or it might tell you to hit an 8-iron instead, because your dispersion is tighter with that specific club. It manages the course for you based on your actual capabilities, not your ego.
That is huge for amateurs. We are notoriously terrible at course management. We just always aim right at the flag.
And the stats back this up. Users of these predictive caddy systems lower their handicap by an average of 5 strokes in the first year alone.
5 strokes? That's it.
Just by making better decisions. The swing didn't even change. The strategy did.
That's fascinating. It is basically outsourcing the decision-making part of the brain to the cloud. But I want to pivot back to the physical experience for a minute, because we have the eyes with the cameras, we have the brain with the AI, but you're still just standing on a flat rubber mat indoors.
Ah, flat mat syndrome.
Yeah, because in the real world, the ball is above your feet, below your feet, you are in a weird divot. Indoor golf has always just been a little too perfect.
That's a totally valid criticism.
Yeah.
If you only practice on a flat lie, you lose your dynamic balance. But the hardware is catching up here too. We are seeing dynamic swing plates becoming much more common.
These are the moving floors.
Yes. The entire hitting platform is motorized. If your virtual ball lands on a 10-degree uphill slope, the physical floor actually tilts to match that 10-degree slope.
So you actually have to adjust your stance for the next shot.
You have to adjust your weight distribution, your knee flex, everything. It forces terrain-responsive practice. It builds those vital neural pathways for balance that you simply do not get on a static flat mat.
And speaking of weight distribution, there is one more piece of heavy machinery we need to touch on from the sources: force plates.
This is the deep end of the pool. This tech used to be reserved only for PhDs in biomechanics labs.
What exactly are they measuring? Because we talked about the kinematic sequence and energy coming from the ground. Is this how we actually measure that energy?
Yes, dual force plates measure ground reaction forces.
Ground reaction force. Okay, explain that like I'm 5 years old.
Okay, think about Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. To swing the golf club fast, you don't just wave your arms around in the air, you push down hard against the earth. Force plates measure that push in 3 different directions.
What are the 3 directions?
Vertical, which is how hard you push down to jump up. Horizontal, which is how you shift your weight from right to left. And torque, which is how you twist your feet to create rotational speed.
And why does a golfer actually need to know this?
Because everyone uses the ground differently. Some players are spinners that use a ton of torque. Some are jumpers. Think of those power hitters on tour who practically fly off the ground at impact. If a coach tries to teach a jumper to swing like a spinner, they will completely ruin the player's swing.
So the plates essentially reveal your physical DNA, your power DNA.
Exactly. High-end academies use this data to tailor the swing to the individual player's specific physiology, rather than just forcing a generic textbook perfect swing on everyone.
It really feels like we are stripping away the mystery of the game here. We are turning pure feel into measurable physics.
And that transition from mystery to measurable physics is exactly what is making this such a viable commercial business right now.
Let's talk about the money then, because I was looking at the industry reports in our source stack, and the growth numbers are aggressive, to say the least.
It is a booming sector. The simulator market overall is valued around $3.3 billion right now, but the commercial adoption rate is what's really interesting.
What is the ROI timeline for a facility? Because these machines aren't cheap. A full commercial setup can run $50,000 to $70,000 per bay.
True, but the data shows that 4 out of 5 commercial simulator facilities reach full profitability within their first year of operation.
That is incredibly fast for a capital-intensive business. I mean, restaurants certainly don't see those kinds of numbers.
No, they don't. The reports describe the market as currently being in a Goldilocks zone.
Not too hot, not too cold.
Exactly. It is mature enough that the technology works reliably. It's not glitchy beta software crashing anymore. But it's early enough that the market isn't totally saturated. Only about 7% of golf facilities currently have simulators installed. There's massive room for growth.
And the revenue model seems a lot more stable than traditional outdoor golf.
It's weather independence. If you own a golf course in Chicago, you make $0 from November to March. But if you own an indoor facility, that is your absolute peak season. It turns golf into a year-round, weatherproof revenue stream.
Plus, you completely control the environment. You can sell food and drinks right there at the bay.
That is the screen golf culture. The data actually shows a 73% revenue uplift when you integrate food and beverage with the bay rentals. It stops being just a solitary practice session and becomes a social event. It's almost like bowling 2.0.
That's a great analogy. It completely lowers the barrier to entry, doesn't it?
Massively. There are no dress codes. You don't even need to own clubs. You can just rent them. You don't need to walk 5 miles. And the gamified modes, like hitting virtual blocks or playing darts with golf balls, it brings in the non-golfers, the younger demographics.
So here is the big question. If indoor is more efficient, data-rich, weatherproof, and frankly more profitable, is the outdoor driving range dead? Are we looking at the end of traditional outdoor practice?
That is the great debate right now. Indoor versus range versus hybrid.
Let's weigh them. Indoor obviously has the controlled environment. No wind, perfect data precision, perfect lies.
And efficiency. You can hit way more balls in less time. But outdoor has advantages you simply cannot simulate perfectly yet. Turf interaction, the actual feeling of the club cutting through dirt and real grass.
Yeah.
Wind management. And frankly, the visual satisfaction of watching a ball fly 250 yards against a blue sky, you just don't get that dopamine hit indoors.
So how are facilities merging the two?
We are seeing tech companies bring the digital overlay to the outdoor range. You go to an outdoor facility, you hit real balls off real grass, but there are cameras and sensors tracking every single shot.
So you get all the precise data overlaid onto the real world.
Exactly. And we are seeing a massive rise in hybrid coaching. You might take a lesson indoors on the simulator to fix your core mechanics using the force plates and the cameras, really getting into the hood of your swing. Then your next lesson is outdoors to learn how to score and handle the natural elements. The data from both environments feeds into one seamless profile in the cloud.
It really connects all the dots.
It turns beating balls, which, let's be honest, is usually just exercise for most amateurs, into deliberate, data-driven practice.
Hmm.
Every single shot is counted, measured, and analyzed.
So looking forward, we've covered the hardware, the artificial intelligence, the business economics. What is the next frontier? What is on the horizon for, say, 2030?
If you look at the current trend lines, the next big step is the deep integration of health and physical fitness.
How so?
Right now, the simulator tells you what is wrong with your swing. It says you aren't rotating enough through impact, but it doesn't tell you why your body physically won't let you rotate.
Ah, so it identifies the mechanical flaw, but not the physical limitation causing it.
Exactly. The next generation of AI won't just be a golf coach. It will act as a physical therapist. It will analyze your movement and say, you aren't rotating because your hip flexors are too tight. Here are 3 specific stretching exercises to do before you take your next swing.
So it seamlessly connects the swing coach to the gym.
It creates a complete holistic loop. You optimize the machine, meaning the human body, in order to optimize the output, which is the golf swing. It could fundamentally change injury prevention in the sport.
That is a profound shift. We are moving from simply learning how to play a game to actively optimizing human performance.
We really are. And the craziest part is that it will be accessible to anyone with $40 for an hourly bay rental.
Before we wrap this up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought. Earlier, we talked about the smart caddy concept, the AI that learns your game better than you know it yourself.
Right.
It knows your exact yardages, your dispersion patterns, your risk tolerance. It essentially tells you what club to pull and exactly where to aim.
It really is the ultimate caddy.
But it begs a larger question. If the computer is making all the strategic decisions on the course, and the biomechanics software is dictating the perfect movement pattern for your body, how much of the actual game is left to the player?
That is the provocative question, isn't it?
Are we just becoming pilots mindlessly following a digital flight plan? Or is the true art of golf, the grit, the guessing, the feeling, something that data can never fully capture?
I think as long as you still have to physically execute the shot with your own 2 hands, the soul of the game is safe, but the thinking part, the strategy, that might be completely outsourced to the cloud very soon.
Something to chew on the next time you are staring at that indoor impact screen waiting for your numbers to pop up. Thanks for diving in with us today.
A pleasure, as always.
We will see you all on the next deep dive.